Welcome to the Straight Red Card. It is cocktail hour. I know I've already partaken. Brett, I don't know about you.
Partaking.
Are you partaking? All right, awesome. Yeah, I've been working on it for a couple hours. And if anything is going to make you drink, it's watching Portland play Marathon in this game, because Portland's been awful. And it's so obvious it's preseason for us. Anyhow, this is about Daryl Dike, though, and he is becoming everybody's, I don't know, their number one guy now at striker, as if he plays in the Bundesliga or something. I don't know. I mean, it is championship. I know championship's a good league, but, Sargent's still playing in the Bundesliga, right? Last I checked. So what's all with the fanfare? Is this just the usual hype train?
I think for the most part, people are looking at his what he brings to the table, but I think overall they're looking at a striker that's scoring goals regardless of league. Yeah. And they're just kind of hyped about that. Now, not saying that DK couldn't start for the U.S. national team. I still stand firm that's Josh's position to lose.
Yep.
And who knows? Maybe DK gets brought in second half, scores some goals, and then just takes his spot. I mean, if he's putting them in the back of the net, then sucks for Josh, but that's how it is.
This is such a great problem to have.
Yeah.
So I spent an hour today watching all those every touch videos from Daryl Dike this season. Every touch that he's had.
Is there even an hour worth of videos?
Yes.
I should watch them multiple times. I've watched a handful.
If you put them all together, and then if you're stopping them and you're writing down notes along the way, then it takes you an hour. But yeah, I mean, most of every touch per game is like a 4-minute, 5-minute video, because that's all the touches he's going to get. I mean, every header, every chest pass, everything he did. And I have to say, I came away with this, Brett. He is way more like Lukaku, which is what his teammate Jordan Williams compared him to, than he is Josie Altidore, because his first touch at his age 20, is already so much more advanced than Josie Altidore's first touch. Mm-hmm. And he brings a whole lot of other things to the game too. But how many times can this guy go up in the air and like either off his head or off his chest or whatever, the first time to a teammate? Like straight off his chest to a teammate. I mean, it happened so much. And let's face it, Barnsley, they're just kicking it down the field at this guy and letting him go up and get it. I mean, it's amazing.
The one thing that I noticed watching some of his videos and some of his games is that he absolutely is a presence in the air. Those slip headers are brilliant. They're pretty much all accurate.
Yes.
It really creates an opportunity for the team. But you're right in the sense that it does absolutely look like Barnsley is just simply booting the ball up and letting DK do something with it.
I mean,
some of the times he has to chase it down, which actually works in his benefit too, because he is quick for his size.
I know, but people were saying he looked slow in one of the U.S. games. Well, maybe he was just tired, because he does not look slow in these videos that I watched today.
Well, again, it's a difference. The U.S. plays different than Barnsley, so we're not ripping a 30-yard, 40-yard bomb from our defensive third to him up in our offensive side. We're playing it through the middle. We're playing it out wide to Pulisic and Reyna, and then they're playing it through. He's not going to have those 30-yard sprints to outrun the defense to get to the ball. We might have some of those, but that's not necessarily how we play. So that's probably the difference. I mean, he wasn't expected to make those type of runs.
But it's nice to have a guy in the background who can do that behind Sargent. And then, our guy Pete, I think at one point, and I could be wrong, so if I'm wrong, Pete, feel free to correct me, but I believe, he had some doubts about DK's technical ability. I don't see any issues there. I mean, he's only going to get a little bit better. He's 20. You almost are what you are at 20, unless you are a late bloomer, and late bloomers are frankly rare. And his first touch is not bad with his feet either. I mean, how many of those videos that you watched today where he was doing a one-touch pass? Boom. Off the side of his foot, front of his foot, all kinds of different ways with his feet. I'm impressed. I have to say, I'm not putting him over Sargent right now, but I'm impressed. I have to say he's my number 2.
I almost find that most of his flub controls, not saying that they're creates a lot of creates mistakes or anything like that, but on the ones that like where the ball's coming and he kind of flubs it up and the ball bounces on him, I feel like that happens more often when he has time and space than when he's actually pressured. When he's pressured, I feel like his control's a little more there. But whenever he has a little more time to bring the ball and collect it, I feel like that's when I tend to see like him go to trap the ball and the ball bounce up on him.
Yeah.
He definitely has some work to do, and he's 20 years old. I mean, you can absolutely see the promise there. And like you mentioned beforehand, this is a great problem for the United States to have. We've got, a lot, not even a lock starter, but we have 3 potential strikers who are scoring in Europe that could very well step in and play.
Yeah.
How often have we had that?
Not in our lifetime, exactly. I don't think. McBride, that's about the
If it wasn't in our lifetime, then I can't imagine the answer is just no.
The answer is just no, yes. But here's the interesting thing. Daryl Dike market value is now at $5 million, which makes him the most expensive or most valuable player on his team, Barnsley. I think when he arrived, he was worth 3. Now he's gone up to 5. And that's in the COVID era where everybody's value has gone down, because there just aren't a lot of teams willing to, chalk up a lot of money right now. And so everybody's value has gone down. But there are only 2 players who could play center forward who are more expensive than him now on the U.S. team. And that's Sargent, whose market value is $9 million, and Weah, who is at 7.5. So, what is that down? Now, Weah's more likely to play as a winger for us, so you can just knock him out. But even if you're going top 3 center forwards right now and you go Sargent, DK, Siabattu, that's some solid stuff there, I think. Mm-hmm. That's a solid, deep center forward unit. And I think even Pete came around and said, yeah, Siabattu is a lot more technically gifted than I thought he was. So, yeah. I'm not saying we're deep, but I'm just saying it's getting better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, DK was worth $100,000 last year, in August of last year. So his stock is going through the roof. Now, people keep saying, Barnsley, sign him. Barnsley aren't going to sign him for the buy-in clause, which is $20 million. No.
Well, and I don't.
That ain't happening.
I don't honestly think anybody's going to be going for the $20 million. I think they're going to talk them down a bit, but it's definitely going to be more than the $10 million that Barnsley suggests or asked for.
I mean, he's already the most expensive player on the team, and the next guy behind him is Alex. What was his name? Alex Moffat or Mawat? I can't remember how it's pronounced. Anyhow, he's worth $4 million, and teams in the championship just don't splurge like that unless you're like Norwich City, like who's on the top of the table, have a player who's at $20 million, Cantwell's at $18 million, Buendia's at $22 million, but that is a rarity. Most teams aren't going to splurge like that in the championship, and most players that are worth that much money, they don't play in the championship anyhow. They play in the actual EPL. So, no, Barnsley's not going to splurge $20 million, I don't think, for DK. I might be wrong, but
even if they get promoted, I don't see that being the case. I think it's going to be an established EPL team that's going to splurge, or maybe a team from a different league is going to just poach him.
Well, there are other teams like Chelsea just stock up on players, right? I mean, They have like 2 full other teams of players that aren't on their roster that they just loan out on a regular basis. There are other teams that do that kind of stocking up too, because teams like Man City and Chelsea, they can just spend relentlessly. They don't have to worry about it. So yeah, I mean, is there a chance that DK maybe offered that $20 million? And there's a reason, by the way, Orlando put in a buy-in clause that was $20 million. They don't want him to leave Orlando. So they made an absurd, buy-on clause. I mean, they thought that was a pretty safe number. $20 million. Oh, shit. Who's going to pay $20 million for a guy we're sending over that's worth $3 million? So they felt pretty safe. And so, no, Barnsley, I don't think are going to do it. As you said, I think if someone does it, it's going to be a team who can afford to kind of just, pay $20 million and not worry about whether it works out or not. And that's Man City. Those are the Chelseas and the Man Cities of the world.
I honestly still think that the $20 million was, like you said, it's a ridiculous sum to ask for, or at least what they thought was going to be a ridiculous sum
at the time. But it was. Yeah,
it's also one of those things where I think that they're looking at a point where they're like, well, we'll accept 12 to 15, but let's say 20, so maybe we get it, or maybe we get talked down a little bit. But I think that's just sort of the launching point, and then they'll go down from there, or maybe they'll just simply say, no, it's 20 or nothing. It's possible. But
it is, and if he keeps scoring like this, he might get it to 20. I mean, he scored 2 on Monday. 2 more to add on to what he's already been doing. He's like the star of that team now. And they are in the promotion zone. They're not in the top promotion zone where it's automatic. They're in the playoff zone. But still, that's great for Barnsley. It's great for Daryl Dike. And listen, the other issue here with Barnsley buying Dike outright with the buy-in clause is that their lead shareholder is Chen Li. And this guy, and there should be a law against this, by the way. This guy he's a shareholder at Barnsley, FC Thun, which is a Swiss team, Ostende, which I believe is a Belgian team, Nancy in France, and another team, I believe, in Sweden somewhere. The guy is a shareholder in like 6 teams. How is that legal? Like, wouldn't there be like a clash at some point if some of these teams ended up playing against each other in like the Europa League or something? It seems like it would be, and then you've got the owners got to decide, well, is it more important that I spend more money for Barnsley, or is it more important that I spend more money for Nancy so they can get promoted back to Liga, or is it more important that I spend for Barnsley so they can get back? I don't know, Brett. I'm just throwing this out there. It seemed the more I researched it, the more I'm like, wow, this guy's got his oars dipped in a lot of ponds.
A little strange. I think the teams that you mentioned, I think it would be a rare instance for any of them to really meet up.
Well,
it's possible, but
possible. I mean, Barnsley gets the Premier League. I don't know, and they win FA Cup or something like that, and end up in Europa League or Champions League, and AS Nancy gets back to where they've been before, which is in Ligue 1 and one of the better teams in Ligue 1. Anyhow, it just seemed like, wow, is the world, so wow. I'm not gonna get into this topic. Anyhow, we'll move on unless you have anything more to add on Daryl Dike.
No, I just think to an extent we can look at Daryl and see what he brings to the table, see the positives. He's doing his job. He's scoring goals. He's helping Barnsley move up. We also have to remember, as we mentioned beforehand, it is a championship.
Which is a good league. It's a good league.
It's not a bad league. I'm just saying we have players in other leagues as well, which is why Sargent's is still my number 1. But again, Dike easily could overthrow him if he has a string of good plays with the United States. He had a pretty good round, or pretty good 45 minutes the other day. He had 2 clear-cut opportunities, some nice splits and everything. But
you're talking about Sargent?
No, Dike.
Yeah. He did miss the PK, though, the penalty kick that he earned.
Yeah.
He did miss it, and wasn't a very good penalty kick. It wasn't as bad as Pulisic's, but Pulisic's at least went in.
Yeah.
During the friendly. So, that kind of wraps up this section, and we're going to be talking about Pulisic in the next section. So join us for segment 2.